Red Bull is at a crossroads. On one side of the garage, they have a generational talent, someone who is able to outperform their car almost every weekend. On the other side, they have a great servant, but someone who needs the best car to come close to the podium. But at the same time, this person, Sergio Perez, is no threat to Verstappen, and that brings peace within the team. However, how can they win championships with this lineup? The answer is, they can't, and now they have to decide. Does Checo stay, or does he go? And this time, the decision looked to be really made, instead of just being rumoured. This week, Helmut Marko has revealed that Red Bull will decide on Max Verstappen's F1 2025 teammate at the end of the season, despite growing speculation about Sergio Perez's future. Some have even stated that he's announcing his retirement during this weekend's Mexican Grand Prix. Marko has stated that the 2-year deal Perez signed earlier this year would not prevent Red Bull from making a change for next season, emphasizing that Formula One is a meritocracy. Perez's Red Bull seat has come under significant threat following a poor run of form, with the 34-year-old having not finished on the podium since the Chinese Grand Prix in April. The Mexican driver looked to have guaranteed his future when he signed a new 2-year deal in June, supposedly binding him to Red Bull until the end of the 2026 Formula One season. With his modified contract expected to include stronger performance terms, Perez found himself under increasing pressure ahead of F1's summer break. In July, Perez came dangerously near to losing his position after the Belgian Grand Prix, with a performance clause allowing Red Bull to dismiss him over the summer break because he was more than 100 points behind Verstappen in the drivers' standings. It is understood that Red Bull's plans to replace Perez included junior team VCARB arranging a shootout test between Daniel Ricciardo and Liam Lawson at Imola to help guide the decision on his replacement for the second half of the F1 2024 season, before deciding to keep Perez for the final 10 races. It is unclear whether an identical process exists for Red Bull to drop Perez at the conclusion of the season, given the veteran's gap against Verstappen has since increased to 204 points. Perez shrugged off suggestions last month that he and Red Bull had agreed to announce his retirement ahead of his home race in Mexico this weekend to offer him a dignified farewell, saying he will not leave the team. But results haven't improved ever since, and at the same time Ricciardo has been replaced by Lawson, who is the #1 candidate for Perez's seat. Lawson impressed in his first F1 appearance in more than a year at last weekend's United States Grand Prix, having replaced Ricciardo for the final 6 races of 2018 F1 2024, and it is believed that Perez is under increasing pressure to improve his performances in order to secure his spot alongside Verstappen for next season. Marko, Red Bull's longtime advisor, has indicated that the team will make a definitive decision on Perez's future at the end of the season. And he has cautioned that Perez's new contract will not prevent the team from making a change for Formula One 2025. He said, "Perez may have a contract, but Formula One is a meritocracy. If the performance is not right, even contracts are useless. At the end of the season, we will sit down together and decide who is the best teammate for Verstappen at Red Bull." Marko's remarks come after he brushed down speculation that Perez's retirement is imminent, telling Sky Germany during last weekend's United States Grand Prix, "It's a rumour." He himself says there is no truth in it. Let's see, but he has to improve his performance. The 81-year-old went on to compliment Lawson's performance in Austin, Texas, when the 22-year-old recovered from a 60-place grid penalty to finish 9th, calling the New Zealander definitely a man for the future. Ahead of Lawson's return to action at the United States Grand Prix, Red Bull team principal Christian Horner hinted that the youngster could emerge as a serious alternative to Perez for F1 2025, admitting that the team desperately needs answers, and implying a much bigger picture behind the decision to replace Ricciardo after the Singapore Grand Prix. One thing is certain, Sergio Perez has to worry about his Red Bull cockpit shortly before his home race in Mexico. The future of the Mexican national hero is shrouded in mystery, even ahead of his home race. This weekend's Mexican Grand Prix is the first of 5 races in which Sergio Perez, 34, will have to prove that he deserves to drive alongside world champion Max Verstappen in the Red Bull next year. However, Following the US Grand Prix in Austin, which did not go well for Perez, there has been much speculation about parting farewell. The reason: while Verstappen drew a step closer to his 4th World Championship win with 3rd place, Perez dropped behind in the same car. In 7th position, 40 seconds behind his teammate, the Mexican just accumulated strong arguments to end his suffering. The Red Bull executives are thus currently evaluating Perez's performance to that of his 2 competitors for a position in the sun beside Verstappen. These are Yuki Tsunoda, 24, and Liam Lawson, 22. The Japanese and New Zealanders both drive for the Racing Bulls youth squad. After the race in Austin, Lawson took the yellow jersey, the Austrians say behind the scenes. Lawson's valiant effort to recover from last position on the grid due to technical issues after an engine change to 9th place, earning him 2 points in the World Championship, was cause for celebration among the Red Bull giants. He not only outperformed Perez, but also teammate Tsunoda, who, despite starting in 10th place on the grid, finished 14th. It's no surprise that Red Bull team head Christian Horner smiled from ear to ear when asked about Lawson. Liam drove like a veteran and made a lasting impression on his return to Formula One. He's a great racing driver. According to the experts, Lawson is now in 1st place in the 3-way contest for the open Red Bull cockpit. British ex-Formula One driver Martin Brundle, for example. Lawson simply overtook Alonso on the last lap. He used the slipstream on the straight, kept everything under control, pointed his nose into the apex, put the pedal to the metal, and pulled off a very clean overtaking maneuver. That's exactly the kind of performance Lawson needs to deliver. If he can do that, I can imagine him as Verstappen's teammate at Red Bull next year. Ralf Schumacher, the 6-time Grand Prix winner, agrees. The current Sky Deutschland pundit said, "I don't mean it personally, but I think Sergio Perez's time is over. Red Bull should react. Liam Lawson has already shown what he's capable of in Austin. If he continues like this, there's no way around him." However, the highly appreciated driver chooses to keep his feet on the ground for the time being. Lawson is modest. Everything depends on the performance. Yuki has obviously done a very good job in recent years, and especially this year. He is the benchmark. He's the only one in the same car as me, so I'm compared directly with him. One thing is certain, things aren't looking good for Perez in particular. There are constant suspicions that he would retire following his race in Mexico. He still denies this. Red Bull knows nothing about it either. Despite his outstanding performance in Austin, Lawson adds, "Nothing has been determined yet." In other words, Perez and Tsunoda have 5 stages left to reclaim the yellow jersey from Lawson. If it were to happen, another spot opens up within the Racing Bulls squad, and this could become an interesting subject over the next weeks. And according to rumours in the paddock, there seems to be someone on the grid already who would love to fill the second Racing Bulls seat. So, Red Bull may also have discovered a remedy to the void that a departing Lawson would leave at VCARB, Franco Colapinto. At the moment, Franco Colapinto is doing an excellent job for Williams and has no drive in 2025 because the team is committed to Alex Albon and Carlos Sainz. Red Bull is reportedly sniffing about Franco. Sainz and Albon are set to stay at Williams until the end of 2026, leaving no room for the Argentine driver, while Red Bull seeks a promising new driver. At the same time, Vowles is openly going around the paddock looking for a seat, and with every seat practically filled except Sauber's second seat and the Racing Bulls' second seat, there aren't much choices left. The only hurdle: Vowles only wants to loan out his talented driver, which might not be something Red Bull is interested in. But if they were able to fully sign him, we could see Red Bull lining up next year with Verstappen and Lawson, and the Racing Bulls could have Tsunoda and Colapinto. So, what do you think? Is Perez's time within F1 over in the coming months? Will he announce anything this weekend? And who will fill the seats at Red Bull and Racing Bulls? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below.